Fighting for Gender Equality in Africa.
A video by UCLG Africa and it is Africa-REFELA.
Gender equality gives women and men the opportunity for equal participation in political, economic, social, and cultural life. It is the cornerstone of a society ensuring dignity, peace, security, freedom, and self-determination for all.
Gender equality is essential to achieve the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and those of the African Union's Agenda 2063. It is not just a question of justice, but it also contributes to the development and competitiveness of African economies.
Africa has come a long way on gender equality and women's rights, but inequality persists. Discrimination by laws, norms, practices, and behaviors affects women in many areas and remains widespread.
Inequality in education is a major obstacle. Despite progress, girls remain undereducated in many African countries and more likely to drop out of school than boys. What to do then? It all starts with changing ingrained attitudes towards women. Changing them is essential to any progress towards parity.
Gender equality requires the sustained commitment of all stakeholders. Real and lasting progress requires renewed momentum and strategic actions from governments, businesses, communities, and individuals.
In 2021, barely a quarter of parliamentarians were women in Africa, compared to a global average of 50%. Weak political will, restrictive electoral frameworks, and entrenched patriarchy are the main obstacles.
Women in politics advance gender equality, but they remain underrepresented at all levels of governance. A framework can support the institutional presence of women and combat discrimination, for example, in employment and property.
In many countries of Africa, governments have taken action, and many have approved specific policies, such as quotas or legislation protecting women's rights and participation in policymaking. What is your country doing? In Mali, for example, a law was passed in 2015, which requires political parties to nominate female candidates and promote gender equity. Does this exist in your country?
A holistic approach is needed, with businesses, governments, communities, and men and women, on the following: improve girls' education, bridging the gender gap at work, support women entrepreneurs, facilitate women's access to jobs and vocational training, making workplaces inclusive of women, and provide public services adapted to the needs of women.
Education opens up opportunities for women, especially economic ones. Access is facilitated by digital technologies, which improve the contribution of women to the world of work.
Increasing women's leadership and participation is crucial for UCLG Africa. Local government can offer real hope, but local governance structures and processes remain a challenge for women to access to decision-making and political space.
Since 2011, UCLG Africa has set up a network of local elected women on the continent, REFELA, or Network of Locally Elected Women in Africa, which promotes women and encourages their local inclusion. It is already spreading to many countries. Does your country have its national chapter?
REFELA provides multifaceted support to local governments and other key institutions to strengthen their capacity to promote gender equality and women's rights.
UCLG Africa, with the support of the Council of European Municipalities and Regions and UCLG World, have produced a Charter of Local Authorities for Gender Equality in Africa. The application of this charter will facilitate the promotion of gender equality within African cities and local authorities.
Citizens' participation in local governance and decision-making will lead to effective and efficient use of the human potential available to the local community for its development. This is why African communities are invited to adhere to the Gender Charter and implement it throughout their daily activities.